Schalke. Oh, they've done it! Steven Terodde, an instant hero! Can you believe it? Plenty attacking! No! The comeback is complete! A stunning second half from Schalke!
Blau und Weiß ein Leben lang. Hallo Leute, willkommen zum das einzigen Schalke Podcast auf English. Welcome to episode 158 of Schalke America. I'm your host of the promoted Schalke Null Fear, Richard Carmen. Joining me as always on this promotion podcast Monday, Jack Mangan. Cheers.
Champagne is popped, sir.
Yes, sir.
The most important victory Monday of them all. We did it. Wild weekend, wild game. Despite a Bundesliga continues to live up to the billing this season. Darmstadt sort of unexpectedly dropping points to Dusseldorf on Friday, conceding 2 goals in the first 10 minutes of that match, then ultimately unable to pull it back. And so that meant that when you and I hopped on the live stream on Saturday, a win and we were officially locked up. And so that's kind of what we were facing going into it. Stakes were raised. Opportunity to lock it up in front of the home fans, and it to have been in the stadium this weekend, I can't even imagine it. I'm very jealous for everyone that was over there.
Aufsteiger Montag. Yep, it's promotion Monday here. What a crazy weekend. I mean, we knew 2 games left, it was going to come down to Nuremberg. We thought this was going to happen. Like you said, that shock defeat, because we looked at the schedule for Darmstadt and Werder Bremen, and we're like, man, that's an easy schedule. They should be able to get those 2 wins easily. We got to struggle here with the 2 pretty good opponents. And then, boom, Darmstadt lose out of nowhere. Med Hunter in the house. Good to see you. Good to see you on the live stream as well. So it was crazy result. And then we said, winning and we're in. And that puts a little bit more pressure on the team too. We said, before the game kicked off that, we need to hit the game running. We're, like you said, we're top of the table. We really need to put the foot down and take control of this game. And the game had roller coasters for sure. Ultimately we get promoted, Jack. Wow.
Yeah, it's up there. It's up there with the 4-4 against Dortmund a number of years ago in terms of, dramatic comebacks. I still can't really believe this is going to be a low analysis, high vibes podcast. I think we're just celebrating.
Nobody cares.
Can't believe. I still can't believe that this happened exactly the way it ultimately played out. And it's so great to not have to go into the final week of the season, with that hanging over our heads and having that anxiety, during the final 90 minutes. I cannot tell you how thankful I am that we locked this up a week early. And just the same thing as always. I mean, credit to the team for the character that they showed. Not the first time they've come out in the second half and looked significantly better in recent matches. You saw Terodde break down in tears.
Yeah.
At the center of the pitch almost immediately afterwards, to see how much it meant to a lot of players, once again, who were either lone players or maybe haven't had long-standing ties with Schalke, was great to see. Just really emotional. The celebrations were happening obviously before the game was even over. Of course, when the 3rd goal went in, you saw, I think, Cherlanov, hug Buyo and tackle him on the sideline. And it was
on the pitch.
Yeah, pretty incredible scenes.
It was unreal for sure. And this is totally gonna be a vibes podcast. It's funny because we kept cracking beers, and every time we cracked beers, Schalke would score. So I was like, oh, let's just keep going. Game was nuts. Lineup in this one, I was worried about putting that blue shirt on Vinheim and thought it was going to jinx us, before the game started. But I did it. And then look at the lineup in this one. Back 4, Vinheim with Oyan on the wings, and Kaminsky, Itakura, Flick, Latza, which kind of figured, and then Cherlanov, Bulter, and Drexler, and Terodde. It was actually like a 4-2-2-2. Interesting lineup in this one. I mean, pretty standard, honestly. I thought it was a safe and right play to do. I mean, were you surprised about anything on this?
Not particularly. I'm trying to remember what the differences were from last week. I think Oyan coming back in, right? Because Cherlanov had the start a couple times, so that was a big one, but not one that anyone's going to be upset about because it's Oyan.
Yep.
Vinheim getting the look again, and he had not done particularly well, I felt like, kind of since re-emerging into the side recently.
Yeah.
And then that lots of Flick partnership centrally. Seen iterations of that recently. And then Drexler was the big call, I think. excuse me, not starting Zalazar. You're going with I think a slightly less offensive option. And I didn't hate that, honestly. You and I think we were talking on the live stream, and I said, like, this is a St. Pauli team that I think kind of was very organized and played more physically than we did the first time around. And so I personally, I didn't mind having, more of sort of like the dirty work Drexler presence in there, and then bring on Salazar with fresh legs potentially in the second half. And that's ultimately the way it played out, and it worked to perfection. But like, yeah, I think the other thing we said at the time was just like, there might be small things that you could quibble with, but overall, the depth in the squad is such that most of the iterations of the starting 11 that you could see, we're not going to be particularly upset about anything. Like I said, even the Drexler thing, you're like, I'm kind of okay with that. See how it plays out. You can always bring Salazar in. I think all these guys have sort of built up enough trust over the course of the year where you believe they can do a job for you when called upon.
Yeah, and then the thing to boot it all really was, the lineup was pretty straightforward, but St. Pauli, they had suffered like 10 guys who had COVID, and several of the starters was affected as well. Berkshire was out of the lineup in this one, and so we weren't sure what they're going to have. We knew that they're going to fight, but we were still worried about it. Smarsh, Irvin, Aramo, Befus, Kira, who's a big danger man for them, even when all their guys are there. Pacaradas have been decent against us. Matanovic is another guy you have to worry about. So it wasn't like this was a cakewalk of a game. They were always going to be competitive. Kudos to St. Pauli for not, saying, "Hey, let's delay this game. Let's wait till our guys come back." They said, "Let's just do it." And I think their loss last week had a lot to do with it. And so, yeah, this team came out swinging, and I don't know that we were prepared for them, but it was just like a shock to the system the way they came out in this game.
It was a strange start to the match for sure. I felt as though the first 20-25 minutes of that match was largely one-way traffic, with Schalke looking like much the better team, creating the better chances, or at least sort of the better like half chances that looked like they could come undo, sort of full opportunities. And 2 goals kind of against the run of play, you'd have to say. Well finished, well taken, but sloppy goals that came from either Schalke mistakes or just sort of broken plays, not like sort of a nice clean move from them where they really broke us down in any significant way. And yeah, just absolute gut punches, like you said. I mean, like it's not. I don't think it's a question of like preparedness. I feel like I do think we were the better team and we looked relatively comfortable, and we just got punched in the mouth a little bit. So, that first one.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, it's a ball that comes in from the left-hand side. You could argue that Vinheim maybe should have done better on that sequence a couple times. Not blocking the cross and getting beat in a couple times, but the ball goes in the center box, bounces out, and it's taken through 3 or 4 Schalke players at not particularly high speed, kind of a cross goal, and it finds the corner somehow. I think Frazel may have been slightly unsighted or wasn't expecting it, and it's not a goal that you can look at and be like, wow, that's atrocious defending from Schalke, or like what a great sequence from St. Paul. It's just one of those things that sometimes happens in football matches where, a ball gets played in, bounces the wrong way. And, sometimes these things happen. They can go in.
And it's funny because even before that even happened, 30 seconds into the game, the leading goal scorer of the league gets a breakaway against their goalkeeper and somehow mind-boggling misses the goal. And we're like, okay, well, one, it's good that we had opportunity right off the bat, but is that a sign to come? And then all of a sudden Matanovic scores, a few minutes later. We're like, okay, 1-0. Okay, let's wake up here. We were very much still in control. I think, that was their first shot in the game, I think, and they scored a goal. But then, 10 minutes later, Matanovic scores again, this time a bad error by Frazel. Lends up to quick passing. I think Irvin got the last, got the assist on the goal. But Matanovic puts it away, and all of a sudden it's 2-0. You're like, oh, here we go. Come on, what's going on? But you said it on the stream. We still got inside 20 minutes, we still got tons of time to go.
Yeah, absolutely. But the other thing that we talked about on the stream, which was that you and I were kind of prescient in that, because very recently on previous podcasts, we were talking about Frazel specifically and said, listen, these last couple games, we don't need him to be spectacular. We don't need him to, come up with anything crazy. We just need him to be a solid, reliable goalkeeper, as anonymous as possible, and just not make mistakes. And wouldn't you know it, just an absolute hospital pass, out of his back that gets picked up, and Kaminsky should have done better.
Yeah.
Defensively, Matanovic beats him, I think, a little bit too easily, gets him going the wrong way a couple times. But ultimately, it's it's a poor giveaway from Frazel. And so, yeah, to be down 2-0 once again against the run of play from two kind of silly plays or mistakes is an absolute gut punch. Thank you for reminding me about the Tirada chance because I forgot about that for a minute. I mean, that was inside of a minute, 1-on-1 with the keeper, and he can't finish it. Ultimately made up for it, but about as disastrous of a start as you could have expected. But the only good news was, as you said, inside 20 minutes, we had been the better team. Plenty of time remaining in the game. Whether or not we really, really believed that deep down is one thing, but those certainly were, the facts at the time, and that's what you kind of had to hold on to.
Well, it's interesting, that comment made by Doug says, first, I shout out to the chat. Chat's lively tonight. We love it. Schalke Canada's in the house. Brazil, everyone's in the house tonight. It's great. Med Hunter was at the game, said he didn't take the turf with him, even though he was on the pitch. But Doug says, this is a team that can go down 2-0 and actually not give up. In the past, we give up a goal, the floodgates would open and it would be over from there. But this is a different built team. You mentioned that comment about Frazel that we talked about pregame, and we also talked about is that lately we've been getting off the slow starts, and we don't want to give up a goal early because that could really impact us negatively in this game. Didn't impact us negatively, but it was a shock to the system. 2 goals against a fairly decent team in St.PAULI. I think like a minute after their second goal, Itakura scores off a corner kick, and we're excited. They pull it back, a handball. I mean, you mentioned on the air, it was like, that's a weak call because, he had his hand hit it down. Didn't really affect the goal because he was scoring anyway. It was right on the goal line. But, man, that felt like everything was going against us. We heard a missed breakaway, 2 goals, and then we missed the goal taken away. It's like, come on.
Yeah. The Itakura chance, I mean, it's poor defending. It felt like a gift at the time because, he's relatively unmarked and gets it, kind of point blank. And you don't want to be too harsh on Itakura either, but it's kind of a mistake too. Like, he should have done better there and not kind of glanced the header into his own hand and put it away. And so, yeah, I mean, just it continued to kind of pile up, the Tirada miss, the disallowed goal for Itakura. The 2 chances at the other end, right when it kind of looked like it was all in our hands and we can control our destiny, as we've been saying. And we were almost looking like we were intentionally trying to make sure it was going to the final week of the season. You're on mute, sir. It has to be one of us. Every podcast, it has to be one of us.
Tradition. It's tradition. It's a Victory Minute podcast. That's fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
If we lost, it'd be different. But going into halftime down 2-0, we had some thoughts about some of the guys who weren't probably performing to their best standard. We thought Cherlinov was still someone you want to keep on the pitch, but Drex was a little quiet in this game. Vinheim was a little quiet. I think Latza had a yellow at this point, if I'm not mistaken. There's some guys who were like, maybe we should make some substitutions here at halftime. No matter what, we knew that, down 2-0, we were still in a pretty good position. We had, at that point, something like 17 shots on goal, 16 shots on goal. Clearly dominating statistically, just not scoring goals. And we knew if we kept that pressure up, if we got one, more would come. And all we were asking for at that point, one was Buskins or somebody to yell at the team at halftime, but 2, get an early goal to start the half. And we luckily did with a penalty kick to begin the first minute of the second half. Another unreal start to a game. I mean, first half started crazy, second half started crazy. Thoughts on halftime and then coming out of the gates with a penalty right away?
Yeah, well, I mean, it must have been, the team talk of the century there with that kind of much on the line. I don't think I would want to be in the position of the coach in that situation and have to be the one to deliver that. That's a tough spot to be in. But, it's everything we said. It's that I legitimately believe, once again, I mean, 25th minute onward, it became a much more even game. St. Pauli was able to bog things down and keep it from kind of going end to end for a while. And that really limited, the flow and the pace and everything. But prior to that, I do feel that we were the better team. You look at who we have on the bench at halftime, you still have a Pieringer on there. You still have an Aiden, a Blendi Adrizi, a Salazar, a Chananoglu, a Paulson. There's players on there that you're familiar with. There's players on there that are, bright, offensively minded, a lot of options to go to over the course of the second 45 and people that can make an impact. And so, yeah, it's a tough message to send, but it really was kind of case of like, okay, if we can play a very similar half to that, minus the stupid mistakes, there's every chance we could score 2 or 3 goals playing the exact same way. Like, I really do think that in possession and on the offensive end, we weren't terrible in the first half. Now, whether or not the team buys into that and whether or not you can replicate that in the second half is a different question. But it was just definitely a strange vibe for that reason. It was like, this is a bad situation to be in, but I don't know exactly how we got here and I don't exactly know what I would change either because I thought that it was actually going okay.
Yeah, and one of the first substitutions we had in the second half after that goal was Iden came on for Vinheim. We were kind of calling for that. That's we were like, oh hey, Iden would be perfect in the situation, especially Vinheim. We thought he should be on a short leash just because the last couple of weeks he'd been performing not that great, and so we said, hey, Iden's there. He tends to have good games from now and then, so we might as well put him in there and see what he can do. Doug says, yeah. There's a lot of awesome videos at the thing there, but yeah, no, we started getting some momentum going. We got a goal, not too short. I think just before our second goal, got a goal, got pulled back, offsides, correct call. It sucked that we got that, but that's the second goal we had taken away from us, both correct. But then the second goal did come, and it was a lovely assist. The ball came over the top. Kaminsky, we've been talking about him, how his passing ability this year has been ridiculous.
Yeah.
Defending has been solid, but passing wise, he's really been on another level. And beautiful over the top to Cherlinov, who heads it back across goal, and Tarota right there between the goalkeeper's legs, 2-2. And we're like, all right, game on. We got 30 minutes to go, whatever it was. Perfect time to score a goal. Huge time to score.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the very first games of the season, Kaminsky plays a diagonal to sort of the right side of the box. It gets once again played right across for Tarot. It's a very similar goal to the one that we ultimately scored. And Cherlinov, I think minutes before that, maybe once or twice in the couple minutes before that, had made a similar run trying to get in behind off that right shoulder. And we were looking for it too. So to see him, I mean, they clearly found something, or maybe he just noticed it in the moment they could exploit. Tarot is where you expect him to be, which is in a position to score goals when needed. It's a good ball from Kaminsky. It's not the cleanest effort to get it across from Cherlinov. He kind of hits it, I think, a little bit higher and softer than he would have anticipated, but he gets it directionally correct. And luckily there's enough space for Tarot to kind of wait to take it down, and ultimately hits it through the goalkeeper's legs, puts it away. And, despite his miss in the first minute of the match, I think at this point, within inside like 75 minutes or so, he's got a brace already. So great turnaround from him, great turnaround from the team. And at that point, I think the momentum was pretty firmly with us. St.PAULI, there started to be some sort of like weird moments of communication between them on the pitch where like players were like directing each other, and like the activity levels were kind of dropped. You could tell that like, they sensed this was about to go the wrong way, with the home crowd behind them.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. And Renee has the name of the podcast we should have done was Nima Zweite Liga, no more second division. But it was the momentum was certainly changing. I mean, it's already kind of in our favor, but I mean, the goal started coming in. That was in the 71st minute. And then big moment of the game, Bolter comes down, marauding down the pitch. He looked like he was going for Tarota, but I ended up on the back door, finds Salazar wide open, a guy who we thought was gonna make a big impact coming onto the pitch. We were screaming for him to come on, off the crossbar and in. What a fantastic goal by Rodrigo Salazar. 3-2. And at that point I knew it was over, but I mean, you were like 13 minutes to go, anything can happen. But what a crazy goal that was. I mean, what a momentum swing in that game from being down 0-2 to up to 3-2 with the promotion in our sights. It was just unreal moment.
Yeah, crazy. And honestly, class from all three Schalke players who were involved on that sequence. And also credit to, I think it was Danny Latza who actually picked up that ball, maybe got the interception to kind of launch that counterattack. But he plays it to Tarada, who just a nice quick touch deftly into the path of Bolter, like, in stride, and then Tarada spins back off of it to make the run. Salazar's chugging in space on the left-hand side, kind of trailing this play, and Tarada once again very smartly runs kind of diagonally right to kind of pull the defenders away from the space where Salazar is going to be running into. Credit to Bolter, who we sometimes criticize for being a little bit shoot first, or likes to dribble into the box and then do a couple back and forth with himself before he makes a decision. But he somehow either heard the shout of Salazar or saw him peripherally, and picked that out and played that through traffic. And I mean, man, Salazar goes bar down. Got me a little bit nervous for a minute that he was going to sky over, but he had time. He stopped. He collected himself, picked his spot. Went back to the left of the keeper, so the keeper's right. His Salazar going to the left side of the goal, and I mean, what a moment. Great finish, to complete that comeback, 2-0 down at halftime, 3-2 up, with plenty of time to spare before the end of the match. It wasn't even like we were doing it, in the 90th minute stoppage time like it was in the Dortmund game. Yeah, I mean, it was such a quick turnaround in the second half. Incredible.
Yeah, and you can see it on the screen that the arena was exploding. Renee is saying that the arena was exploding. He was there, as were many people who are many of our friends, and so yeah, unreal game. And we held on. I mean, they did get 2 reds at the end of the game there, but yeah, I mean, we hung on and we didn't make it look pretty at all. We typical Schalke, I guess, where it made it interesting no matter what. And 3-2 win. You look at the statistics. I mean, we significantly outshot them. We were putting all the pressure, and we just couldn't get the goals in until the second half. Shots on target, same thing. 10 shots on target. I think that might be the season high for us. I mean, once we smelled blood in the water, we really went for it. And yeah, it saves us now. The last weekend we can kind of relax. Who asked the question there? Reggie says the game at Nuremberg was going to be harder or easier now that they're officially out of the race for promotion. I don't know. I think it's going to be easier. Nuremberg's going to be easier than they have been. They have been the hottest team in the league, but who's to say? I mean, we still have the league title until we could possibly win.
Yeah, exactly.
Do we want it at this point?
Yeah, I think it depends on how we approach it. I find it hard to believe that we won't try to go and get the title. I mean, it's there. You might as well try to go win a title and add that to the promotion.
Give it a half.
But it's also entirely possible that Schalke takes the opportunity to just play a bunch of youth kids.
Yes.
And say, hey, we have what we need from this. We don't care if we finish second. Let's give, some other guys or more peripheral players an opportunity and, maybe get some evaluations in. Who knows? I'd like to think, it's going to be an easier game though. And once again, just from the beginning, I'm so thankful that this is locked up and taken care of before we go into the final match. Because, Nuremberg, our friends, potentially, finding the winner against us to keep us down or something would be, especially devastating. So, fantastic. It's 7 of our last 8. Is that what it was? Something like that.
Yeah.
After the change. I mean, like it didn't look like we were going to be here, and we somehow rattled them off and got it done. We've been conditioned to not expect that, I feel like, over the last couple of seasons, and the team defied expectations and just ground these things out. So credit to them.
Yeah. And it's gonna be interesting to see. Like I said, I think they're gonna lean towards the youngsters, but why not give it a half and see if they can, if they got a couple goal lead or 1 goal lead, then you can bring some youngsters on. But I do think we're gonna see a bunch of youngsters in the game at some point or not. But why not win a league title? It'll be our first one in a decade, I think it is. And Renee saying in the chat, this is the first time since 2011 that we come back from 2-0 down. So unreal stuff going on. The chat's really going crazy now, which is awesome. Mike says, next season, are we going to win the league or only top 4? I don't know about that, but some great news for us, whether you want to talk about them or not. But Erling Haaland, he looks like he's going to Man City. He's going to be out of our crosshairs at least, so I don't have to worry about him at least next season. But I don't know. It would be amazing if we made top 4. I don't know if we're going to beat Bayern anytime soon or anybody's going to beat Bayern anytime soon, but you never know, right? No one thought we were going to come right back up, or did they, Jack? It was a difficult league that we had to come through. So if we can get through to fight the Liga, maybe we can get through to the Bundesliga. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to win the league. All I know is that Dortmund certainly aren't. So there's that. That's going to be screen capped if they end up doing that.
Oh my God.
Go back and find this in that episode.
Yeah.
But,
I'll delete it.
Yeah. No, I mean, next episode next week when we're after the Nuremberg game, we'll kind of look ahead to a lot of the things in terms of the squad, what we feel like is on the table for us in the top division. But to cut the stint down in just the one season, especially with the financial turmoil that's been going on, is clutch. And a lot of credit has to go out to a lot of the people organizationally for getting us back on sort of a solid footing here and giving us the platform to go off and have the campaign that we did.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, we'll get into the next podcast, but I mean, there's so many pivotal players or people in this season that resulted in us moving up. Controversial question here: player of the game. Medhunter says Cherlinov for him. How about you, Jack? It's difficult.
I actually hadn't thought about this just because I was just so pleased with the whole team performance and everything that I hadn't actually given this much thought. I think Cherlinov is a great shout. I think Terada, obviously, with 2 goals and with his general involvement. Probably not anybody at the back particularly that I can think of. I'd say probably like Cherlinov, Zalazar, Terada, probably. Yeah,
that's a good shout. That's a good shout.
I named a third of the team there, but whatever.
And I would also give a shout out to Bolter. I think he was one of the livelier people in the first half for sure. Obviously got the assist on the game winner there. So he had a pretty decent game. So yeah, any one of those guys I think is a great shout.
Yeah, that's fair. I forgot about that. Especially that first 25 in the first half. He was on the end of a couple of things and got a couple shots away that were pretty close. So it's a good shout.
We're going to talk Grammozis here in a second, but I want to get to his comment. We thought there's going to be an invasion of the pitch if we won. There was, and as sometimes happens, these things with a rush of people going, it's hard to control things. And as Cast a Flock of Flame says, sadly someone fell from the stands after the game, suffered a cerebral hemorrhage, and there's a lot of people that were injured and stuff. No one passed away, luckily, but those kind of times, I've been in those kind of pitch invasions before, you're at the whim of the other people, right? It's just when bodies start moving, it's hard to control that. But it was a joyous time out there. I'm like, the players were out there having fun, crying, like you mentioned, Terada and a bunch of other guys. But yeah, no, it was a crazy ending to a crazy season. If we win the title, that'd be great. I think it's a good way to end the season. But we'll see what happens this next weekend. I mean, we're promoted, so that's the ultimate goal is there. But I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's just a crazy roller coaster of a crazy game for a crazy season. I mean, that's a Zweite Liga for you right there.
Yeah. I hadn't seen like an article or anything with a full accounting of what the injuries were from that event, but actually, Ethan Tedesco Time had sent me something that mentioned that there was some stuff happening after the game, people getting injured, which is unfortunate that the celebrations had to be marred by some of that. But I hope the people that were injured are able to recover fully. And I mean, when people are rushing the field, that kind of thing, these things can always happen. So, unfortunate. But just the arc, dude. The arc of this club over the past couple of years. I mean, just in the time that you and I have been doing this podcast together, and we've gone from Champions League away nights, at Manchester City at the Etihad, runners up in the Bundesliga, to fighting relegation, to ultimately getting relegated, and then an absolute crazy Zweite Bundesliga season with different teams at the top of the table throughout different parts of the season, a late season managerial change, a crazy run, and ultimately promotion earlier than we needed. Just couldn't have written it, and just kind of grateful to be here and enjoy the ride. Like I said so many times over the last few weeks, it's just been fun to watch this team again. And that's something we haven't been able to say as much recently in the past couple of years with Schalke squads. This was just a fun team to watch, and kind of gets you back in tune with what kind of draws us all into being fans in the first place. And sometimes when you have just bad result after bad result, you can kind of cycle on itself and get kind of down. But it's been great to kind of reconnect with the joy that being a fan of a club can bring you on occasion, and hopefully we have more days like this in the near future.
Two players made the players of the week. Terada, obviously, with his 2 goals, and Thomas Owian back in the starting lineup, back into the team of the week. Decent game. It wasn't like his stand-up performances in the first half of the season, but it was good to see him back out there, and he certainly contributed. He was certainly everywhere, especially in the corner kicks and some of his crosses. So it's good to see him back out there and getting kudos for a good game. I wish you could put all players up there, but you can't, alas. And Terada deserved 2 goals, right?
Yeah, it was good to see him back in the starting lineup. Çalhanoğlu, as we said, have done a pretty good, admirable job filling in for him. But if Owian is fully fit, where he can put in a full 90 or even the majority of the 90, particularly in a big game like this, he's going to be first choice, and obviously rightfully so. So, and great, if you said if you got team of the week or something, good for him. I didn't think it was a particularly phenomenal performance from Owian or whatever, but solid as many of the guys in the squad were, and certainly a big contributor over the course of the entire season, and especially in that early part of the season.
I'm not gonna make any comments about Frazel tonight. He did have that huge save in the game when it was 2-2, where it was hit at him, but it was a big save at that moment. Some of the guys are in the chat talking about, the big elephant in the room is who's going to be the coach next year, right? We knew that Buskins is not going to be there back next year in terms of head coach. He'll still be on the team as one of the assistant coaches. Schroeder made that clear a couple weeks ago, or just before the Werder Bremen match. And we just heard also that Gerald Asamoah is going to be back next season as well as the assistant coach. So we don't know who the next coach is going to be. I mentioned Grammozis. For those who didn't know in the chat, his contract's been extended next year. So welcome back. No, he's not coming back, guys. Relax. There's a clause in Grammozis' contract that his contract expires in June. And had we get promoted like we did, it automatically gets a trigger for another season. So he's technically on the books again for next season, but he won't be coming back. So relax. But technically we are still paying him. But I guess it's money we're spent if we got promoted. So I'll take it all day.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be Schalke if we didn't have 3 to 4 coaches on the books at any one time. That's just kind of how we do things with the managerial churn that we typically experience. But not ideal financially or whatever the situation is, having to extend and pay out that contract, whatever the the provisions of it are. But I think that's a price that we'll all happily pay, given why it's being triggered and what the context is, which is that we're back in the top division and no one can tell me anything right now. No one can say anything to me.
I wanted to bring up something. I don't. Something with Grammozis. Okay. So he did. He ended up get fired. We went on a 7 wins out of 8 games at the end there. Obviously he's going to be one of the scapegoats. Had we not got promoted, Renee mentioned a comment. I think he said that had we got rid of him in March, we would have probably made promotion a long time ago. But I asked the question, devil's advocate here. Does he deserve more credit than he's been given? Because the team did change underneath him. Obviously, we're in the 2nd division now. We got different players, thanks to Schroeder. But should we be giving a little bit credit to Grammozis this season after what we had last year?
I think is the question how much credit we've given him or the kind of credit he's getting generally? Because honestly, I'm not even entirely sure how much credit he's getting from the general fan base. I think what we've said on this podcast fairly consistently is that he came in a very tough position.
Yeah.
Did reasonably decent job. Did fine. But there weren't that many points throughout the first part of the season where we felt particularly inspired.
Lucky a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't ever think that the confidence was there. We never really fully gave him, I think, our full kind of backing because we just didn't know what we were seeing. I didn't expect, if a change was going to be made, I didn't expect it to be made as late in the season as it ultimately was, which is why I give Schroeder credit for having the stones to kind of do that. When he ultimately did, but I give Grammozis some credit. Like, we weren't terrible. I think by the time he was sacked, we were probably still top 5, top 6. And given how this season's gone, that only means a couple points here and there. We had some poor results and everything, but it wasn't as if he was given just to kind of wrap up, a squad that was capable of winning the division or capable of getting promoted, and we were in 12th place most of the season. Like, we were in the mix and kind of thereabouts for a lot of it, and ultimately just kind of took that run at the end to get there. So I think he gets, probably from us at least, an appropriate amount of credit. What's your take?
Yeah. I think before I get to Edwin's counter question here, I think the team improved defensively for sure. You can say what you will that we're going to fight the Liga, but fight the Liga we knew was a super league coming in, and it's going to be difficult no matter what. So there were some things that we did do better, but there were at times where the games where we won, but we just eked it out. And there was a time just before the Winterpause where we said maybe 5 games before the break that if we're not in a promotion spot, we were 6th or 7th place at the time. It's like, if we stay in that spot, he should be gone at the winter break. And they went on a run there at the end of the first half of the season, and they finished in top 4 or whatever at the Winterpause. And so so
we felt like we couldn't do it at that point. Yeah, because it was
And then we said if he has to have good results, because there was a stretch of 5 games where we played like bottom table teams and we had to win those games, or you got to cut them ties, and we didn't do well. We didn't cut the cord, and finally at the Heidenheim game, which was well into March, we finally let him go. So ultimately, to round this question out, I think he deserves some credit for sure. But I mean, Schroeder gets full credit for assembling this team, and then Mike Buskins and Gerald Samoa and Kreutzer and all those guys and the assistant coaches, they get so much credit because they got this team spirit together. And no matter what happens next season, the team, whoever the coach is coming in, has a well-tight team who are all behind each other. And, with that, you can do a lot of great things with it. So need the right coach to come in there. And then Edwin's question is that, did you guys have fun with Schalke while he was in charge? Me? Yes, in the extent that we were actually winning games, and we hadn't won game in a couple of years, it felt like. But was it what we wanted to see? No. There was too many times where they weren't good enough offensively. There was no set gameplay. The substitutions were poor. So was it perfect? No, but I was having more fun because we were winning. We were somewhat competitive.
A bit of tactical inflexibility on Grammozis' part, I think you would have to say as well. Kind of sticking to that system and shape consistently, even when there were things that we were saying needed to improve, and it didn't look like. You never know what's happening behind the scenes, obviously, but in terms of what we can see on the pitch, it didn't look like things were being done to address those. Even within the space of the limited run that Buskins and Kreutzel and people have had, I'm not saying that there's like, wow, what an impressive, immensely complex system that they've put in place, but we've seen several different shapes from them even over the course of the 8 weeks or whatever it's been. So they certainly saw a need to change things up, did so, and they continued to tweak things in their time in charge. And I think maybe a little bit more of that potentially would have served Grammozis as well. And sometimes, like you said, you just need to make a change and hope that new manager push, as you say, kind of gets in there, and you have the right people that can rally the team. And I don't know. I mean, if it's like Buskins and Asamoah and club guys, like it's less about them and their careers and maybe like the ego and the pressure that they have to deliver for their own. And it's more just about like, can we get the club over the line? Yep. And you never know, like, how Grammozis being his own coach and trying to forge his own brand, and his insecurities over his job might be bleeding into making the team more nervous. I mean, there's so many different factors that can go into it, but hindsight's 2020. It worked out, so we have to give credit for the move. Ultimately, a move that we were not entirely sure with at the time, and good call from Schroeder, and here we are.
Yeah, here we are for sure. And I'm glad Med Hunter's bringing up Becker because Becker was a guy we were so high coming into the season. He, along with Milik Tiao, were probably two of our better players last year when we were so bad in the Bundesliga. And then we come into this season, we thought him and Tiao were locks for the defense, and Becker never really got into the squad. And now we're seeing maybe it was because of Grammozis. I was so happy to see Becker at the game and celebrating with the team. I had to do double take because I'm like, wait, is that Becker? And so, yeah, I'm happy that he was there. I'm happy, I don't know if he's still in the books. I guess he technically is. I thought he went on loan, but I don't know. Either way, it's a guy who's probably what perplexed us the most this season is Timo Becker, because he looked so good in the top division. Or he looked decent in the top division, and then comes in the second division, looked like he was out of play. I mean, his game was poor, but it could have been, because of wasn't getting the time in practice. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah, and listen, if Oweyan played on the right-hand side instead of the left-hand side, we might not have been talking about Becker at all. I think part of the reason we were talking about Becker is just because of the number of people that came through that right wing back or right back position over the course of the season. But it was great to see him involved in that. You saw some quotes from, I think, Goretzka and some other people as well, just kind of speaking about it. So always nice when you have former players that you can all see the club still means a lot to, and the community and everything. It's great. It's part of why we all love Schalke and support it. And to William's point here on the screen, one more goal and Tirada will pass Huntelaar with 30 goals on the season. He's tied. It's him and Klaus Fisch. Is it Klaus Fisch? Who is it?
I thought it was Klaus Fischer.
Klaus Fischer. At 29.
Yeah, they're both tied at 29. I forgot. I thought Klaus had 30, but I guess he had 29 with Huntelaar, and so Tirada with a chance at 30 goals, which is a fantastic season. Arguably the league MVP with his goal tally at 29 now, playing Nuremberg. I imagine he's going to try to at least get that record there, at least for the first half. So yeah, it's an amazing feat for him. What a performance! I'm just so happy for him because he gets one last chance in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, no. Sorry, go ahead. His emotion though, you saw at the end of the game. I think that was part. I don't want to read too much into it, but partially, obviously, the promotion accomplished, but also he does get the opportunity to go in the Bundesliga, one more time with the big club like Schalke and try to make it work.
And I hope the next manager gives him a chance. We saw when he got promoted with, I guess it was Cologne a few years back. Didn't really work out. So I hope they get to see, the manager allows him the opportunity to try to, be himself.
Yeah. Do
you have any doubts he can score in the top league? I don't.
I mean, I don't want to underestimate the jump to the Bundesliga, but at some point, if you have a guy like that in the box, if you can provide service and chances, he's going to finish. I mean, like, he's just so automatic. Like, I mean, it's what we've talked about. We haven't had that guy over the past couple seasons who can reliably put away chances, and just when he has time and space, he doesn't miss. Like, you just don't even expect it. And that's valuable. And I'm glad that we renewed him for next year because, say what you want to say about his age. He has 29 goals this season. I think by the end of the season, if he doesn't already, he's going to finish with more goals and assists than games this season. So his goals and assists per game is going to be higher than 1 probably when this campaign ends, and that's pretty remarkable for a guy of his age. He was unconscious, sure thing, and proved to be that way for us again this season. I did not know that Kudicu was there. Somebody just mentions was it Eric? Yeah, in the chat as well, that apparently Kudicu was in the house. But that's I love to see that. It's great. Everybody,
and so many former players were giving their well wishes for us for the promotion. So chaotic season, chaotic chat going on right now. I know, thanks for the thousands who watch our live stream, and then some of the videos. So it's just been a crazy weekend. We one more game to go. It doesn't matter. We're promoted. Maybe champions. We'll see. Let's see what the desire is. But
Bremen picking up that win on Sunday, right?
Yep.
Against Au 3-0. So then they moved into a spot where they're 2 points behind us now. 62-60, I think, is where we're sitting at.
And they're promoted too, right? Are they promoted?
No, I don't think they are locked into promotion. Aren't there 2 teams on? I forget what the tiebreakers are, but there's 2 teams on 57, right?
Yeah, both Darmstadt and Hamburg have the head-to-head against them, which is crazy. So they haven't won yet. They need a point and they win, but they're in. I mean, but
so Bremen could finish up with a league title, or they could finish up not getting promoted at all. And that's
better them than us.
Yes, yeah. So title or not, hey man, we're through. We're up. That's all we care about. So it'll be fun next week. Just a celebration of the team and everything that we've kind of been through over the last couple of seasons. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, at least we get a draw in this game against Nuremberg. We get to win or get the league title. So it would be a fitting ending to a crazy season. But we'll get more into the personnel moves and this and that next episode. That'll be I think it'll be last episode. Maybe we'll try to get some guests here. Maybe some from Germany. Who knows? It's been a crazy season. I got nothing else left. Someone did ask in the chat, and I forget who it was. Do we are our players or any of our players division run worthy? Are they good enough to be in the top division? I say yes. I'm not
we on?
Yeah, I'm not gonna say all, but there are players who can play in top division. We'll get into it maybe next episode, though. But anything else, Jack? You want to talk about before we get out of here?
Shout out Schalke Canada real quick, because next week, Sunday, Nuremberg watch party for Toronto, Black Bear Pub, 9:30 a.m.
Heyo.
There's gonna be some giveaways. So everybody up, our friends north of the border, the Toronto watch party going down Black Bear Pub Sunday morning. Go out, celebrate Nuremberg game, end on a good note. Even if we lose, who cares? Once again, it's our friendly rival club. Lots to be happy about. Lots to celebrate. There's the pictures again on the screen.
Get the Sudsies.
Schroeder, in the shirt. Ida Kerr, real quick, I actually wanted to mention something as well. Ida Kerr, I think, had a tweet, or maybe I saw a quote from him or something where he was like, I'm going to drink a lot of beer tonight, and I don't even like beer at all. And I was like,
that was great, for sure.
But anyway, so that's my last shout out. Anyone in Canada, go to the watch party in Toronto.
Yeah, look at some more pictures there. Toronto there with the there's that last picture there, and Idrizi was so big for us this season as well. So crazy year. Shout out to the chat, shout out to everybody who came tonight, who's watching us all season long. It's been great. One more game to go. At least one more podcast to go before the break. And so did you ever give your handle already? I don't know if you said that.
At JMMangan, JMMangan.
There you
on
go.
Twitter.
Better you than me. We've seen that already. You can follow me at R_KHARMAN. Follow Schalke America. Let us know what you want us to chat, talk, do videos about, whatever. Let us know. We're here for you guys. Until the next podcast comes, stay sober. Just kidding. Keep drinking. Do safe, though. Drink responsibly. We'll catch you soon. Glück auf.